Okay, we are now recording. It is 4:40 p.m. Welcome to the University Hill Commercial Area Management Commission meeting. It is Tuesday, August 1st, and I will call roll. Cheryl Laborious.
Virtually here.
Trent Bush.
Here.
Ted Rockwell.
Here.
Andrew Shoemaker.
Here.
Hey, I'll turn the meeting over to our chair for approval of the minutes.
Okay. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes as presented? Just one typo in my comments about the TAP group session. It's missing a P from panel. And I can go back and find that and email that to you, but that's it. That's the only thing I saw. Does anybody want to move to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. And do we have any members of the public today?
I'm here from the Hill Boulder, Jake Hudson Humphrey.
Okay. Jake, do you want to go ahead and take us through Hill Boulder information?
Yeah, sure. So we had two successful events in the last couple of days that I, happened after I put together these updates. So we had a block party on Saturday on the Hill Event Street that went really well. It was called the Family Fun Block Party. Goal was to try to get, take advantage of the summer months when students are gone and try to get some families up onto the hill. It worked pretty well, not quite as high a turnout as I had hoped, but still really good. We had a Sweet Cow ice cream truck. We had a magician, a face painter, and a balloon artist. About 100 or so people came through. There were only around 40 people for the actual magic show, but still a good turnout based on, the demographic we were marketing it towards. And then just yesterday we had a business meetup that a couple of you were at the Fox to introduce the new ambassador team lead, whose name is James Mayfield. So that's another one of my updates. Downtown Boulder was able to select a new lead for the Hill Ambassador program. The previous lead, Mario, was in place for about a week or two and has moved, I think, elsewhere in the company. But so James is the new point guy for the Hill. And then current Hill hours for the ambassador program. Right now it's Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. But a downtown ambassador can still be called, is available basically from around 7 to 9 p.m. or so every day. And then a couple more events coming up. I'm guessing that the Z2 radio conference, I didn't actually hear anything about that. Cheryl, is that happening?
Yes, it starts tomorrow. So it's
Okay.
2 days rather than 3 days. It downsized when it came back from COVID. So tomorrow night and Thursday night on the Hill, there'll be free music on the CU parking lot. The events inside the Fox are paid, but the CU lot events are free, and music starts at 7:30. It's typically two different acts, and 7:30 to 9:30 today and tomorrow. Tomorrow and Thursday.
Great, thank you, Cheryl. And then 303 Boards is doing King of the Hill again for I think the third year. That's on August 26th. The Sync is having their centennial block party on September 2nd. And CU is hosting a block party in the CU lot on the 7th. And then the sync exhibit and film is going to start screening at the Boulder Museum on the 8th.
Great. Yeah, it was nice to learn more about the ambassador program and have some face-to-face time with them. I think that's going to be really helpful. And it has been so far.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, matters from the staff, and unless there are other, I can't really see whether there are other members of the public.
So
Is there
we
any-
do, yes, we do have one member of the public that's raised their hand to speak. So I will go ahead and allow Lynn Siegel to unmute herself now.
So we get a public comment here, right? That's nice. Yeah. My friend called me the other day. She lives up on Euclid and what is it? You know, by 9th. And she was concerned about the size of the Hill Hotel and the reasoning, what I've always thought, but never talked to anyone about, the fact that there are 2 hotels, one right across the street from the other. And do you know the capacity of the Hill Hotel and the CU Conference Center? I know it has a 15,000 square foot ballroom, but I don't know how many units are supposed to be in it. Do any of you know the numbers on that off the top of your
I
head?
think that the CU Hill Hotel, I mean, the Hill Hotel, the
Yeah.
one on the west side of the street, the capacity is just under 200.
Okay. And do you know what the conference center's proposed to be, CU?
I don't want to give you inaccurate information, but on the City of Boulder website, there is information packets about both projects
Okay,
on the city's website. And
okay,
you can probably, I believe, Jake, tell me if I'm wrong, but we also have on the Hill Boulder website an information packet about the Hill Hotel.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. The Hill Hotel is 189 rooms and the Conference Center Hotel is approximately 250 rooms.
wow. Huh, that's.
And that is on our website, yeah.
Okay, do you know what the purpose of the 2, is there a different purpose than with either one? My friend was wondering about that. Is the CU one for CU conferences exclusively kind of, and then overflow for the Hill Hotel, or like what's the game plan here?
The Hill Hotel will take some overflow from some of the larger conferences. I believe the Limelight CU Conference Center, it will be attracting conferences that are not specifically 100% of the time CU conferences. And the Hill Hotel, they built it on that site specifically to have enough rooms for those larger conferences that they want to bring into the city of Boulder.
That CU wants to bring in?
Yes, and the city as well. I
Yeah,
think everybody was involved in trying to convince the university to choose that location over a different location.
okay. I realized I was up at the CU and city meeting today at the law school, and Lori Call brought up that there was some incidents with some engineering conference participants within the city. Do you know anything about that? Because I forgot to ask her about it. There was some.
No, I mean, I saw Lori yesterday and she didn't mention it. And so I don't have any information, Lynn, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just wondered, since I forgot to ask her about that, it was on the fly and I forgot it. Too many things going on between CU and the city, of course. Yeah, I'm just concerned, and my friend was concerned that the hotel is taking up a lot of functional space. I mean, it's kind of the baseline development right there by 36. is doing the same thing. It's taking away some businesses. And although it's quote unquote cleaning up the hill, what do we have to sustain some of the funk appeal of the hill? You know, on the one hand, you want to clean it up. On the other hand, that's what's charming about it.
I think we're gonna see increased activity. There's a really well thought out kind of public space that will be in between the two structures with the Hill Hotel. That really will be engaging. There'll be I think there'll be some activation, and I think what our hope is that a lot of the hotel visitors will come up to the Hill commercial core, and that will also encourage other businesses to want to come to the commercial core to open up their businesses and continue the unique flavor of the Hill, and help those businesses survive.
That sounds like a
With year-round, diverse traffic.
that sounds like a good plan, Cheryl. Sounds
I
like
think it's going to be really helpful to the historic core, and to help lift it up and to bring more people to our lovely little slice of Boulder up there on the hill. And we hope to see a lot of improvements and more business and public engagement up there.
that sounds good. Maybe you can get some media out kind of talking about your game plan so that folks in the area are less, opposed to it. Because that's always helpful, to have good vibes going on about the area.
Yeah, I think that the
something.
good vibes are on their way, and people, it's hard to imagine when you take away, those businesses, that many of those businesses were failing and struggling and weren't going to be around long anyway. So getting ahead of that and providing it, I think there's going to be a lot of community benefit there on that space, and it's going to flow out to the hill.
I wonder if there can be any zoning for specific types of businesses on the hill. Is that, like, I'm gonna propose this for downtown Boulder, like that we need a shoe repair store, instead we've lost ours. The kind of functional things that folks don't want to go a great distance for. And then there's also the food desert. That's the problem up there now, that Whole Foods is closed up on Baseline. Is there a plan for that? Because then we lost alfalfa's too. It's like,
I don't, we work toward business retention, and we have done many surveys asking people what they want to see up on the hill. And I hear you. I mean, I've been around on the hill for 30 years. So, but that information is great. If you know any folks who have great ideas for small businesses, there are empty spaces up there, and they are more reasonable than downtown spaces.
that's a good sign.
So spread the word. We would love to see shoe repair up on the hill.
Okie doke. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn. Did you have anything else before we move on with our agenda?
No, go right ahead.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank-
All right, matters from the staff.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. We have up first, Chris Hagelin is here to provide an update to you all on the Lime scooter expansion.
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for having me, commissioners. I'm excited to provide you with an update on our Lime scooter expansion that is happening quite soon. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
I have never been on one.
I haven't either.
You're gonna have to help me out.
Yep. Lisa, I think I need to have permission to share my screen.
Absolutely.
All right, now we got it. Thank you. Now I just need to. There we go. All right. So just to give you a little recap on Lyme and our pilot program that we did in 2022, we had a very successful pilot program. We started off with 200 scooters. There are certain triggers that they met to increase that fleet during the pilot period. So we ended up with about 288 scooters. We had over 115,000 trips. Most of those trips were just over a mile in length. On average, we had the scooters used about 1.5 times per day. And the good news is we only had 4 reported serious injury crashes, no fatalities, and only 4 serious injury crashes, which was great because that really was the concern of staff about the use of scooters and their operation within our city. I think a couple of things lended its help that situation. One, the pilot was only east of 28th Street. So there was a limited service area, but also there was a beginner mode. So the first time you checked out the scooter was limited in speed. And we like that because we did look at all the national statistics about crashes and injuries, and a high percentage of the crashes and serious injury crashes typically occurred on someone's first ride. And, if you look at the Venn diagram, first ride plus being drunk was usually part of that serious injury. So we also had a curfew of 11 p.m. So really trying to eliminate that. So we were very pleased. And really based on that, council said, go ahead and expand citywide. And that happened in January. And so since January, the city staff has been working with Lyme on looking at what that approach to moving citywide would be. We know this is going to be an iterative process. It's going to be a phased process. We're not going to get it right the first time in terms of all our geofencing and where the scooter parking is. So it's going to take some time to get it right and figure out based on use, based on trip generators, and where we see we need to have additional parking and things like that. Right now, the timing for the launch is mid to late August, more on the later side. I just had a meeting with Lyme, and they are hoping to launch prior to CU starting and around perhaps the 21st of August. Just today, I got news that CU has approved the operation of Lyme scooters on their campus. So up until today, we did not know if CU was going to allow them on campus, but they are. They're going to be allowed on campus. As we expand citywide, the city is going to maintain the 11 p.m. curfew. However, part of the message we heard today from CU is that they are not going to have the curfew on their campus. They want the scooters to operate 24/7. So the city is going to look at that. Again, the curfew is really about preventing, intoxicated riding of scooters. What Lyme has done is that they have developed 2 different things that the city could think about. One is they could say the curfew could apply only in certain areas of the city. So they could geofence certain areas and say the curfew applies here, but not in other areas. So if the Hill Commission was concerned, we could set a curfew area around the Hill area. Or, if the downtown commission thought that was the case downtown, we could establish a curfew in a geofenced area there as well. We had originally told Lime we were going to wait until 2024 to reevaluate the curfew situation, but given CU's change today, we may look at that sooner. But again, it's really our concern is main safety. The second thing they have to curb intoxication and riding and injuries that result is that they can employ a sobriety test. So this is a test that is on your phone that after a certain time, any user would be required to take, and it basically tests your reaction speed of tapping things on your phone. I do not know if this has been approved by any, third party medical association or law enforcement association. So I'm asking for some additional information on that test itself. But the city at this point will maintain the 11 p.m. curfew, but we are going to be looking at it. Really, the really cool thing about the scooters and the technology that we have is the ability to do these geofenced areas. One of the geofenced areas are equity zones. So those are in purple on the screen. These are areas where trips that start or end in those areas happen at a reduced price. And people who live in those areas and who qualify, well, anybody citywide who qualifies for their low income program can also have a reduced rate. But these equity zones are where we are requiring Lime to have 15% of their fleet at all times available to the people in these equity zones, and their use is at a reduced cost. Other types of geofencing we have are no-go zones. So these are areas where scooters are just not allowed to operate. They will slowly shut down and lock if the scooter crosses that geofence. So that's everything on the outside of the city limits. So all the open space trails, and we've been working with open space and mountain parks to make sure that scooters won't be able to go on the open space trails. But it also applies to things like Pearl Street Mall, cemeteries, ball fields, certain parks that Parks and Rec wanted to be no-go zones so that scooters will not be allowed to operate. Another type of geofence is the slow zone. So a slow zone is a geofence that once the scooter enters it, it slows down from the max speed of 15 miles an hour, and they can be either set at 8, 10, or 12 miles an hour. 8 is, from what I hear from a lot of people in the industry and in Denver who are also doing the same thing right now, is that 8 is pretty slow, and sometimes people have a hard time maintaining their balance at only 8 miles an hour. So we're looking at trying some slow zones at the 10 and 12 miles an hour, and then see how they are. If we need people to slow down, if they're in a 12 mile per hour zone, they need to slow down more, we can consider moving that back down to 10. One of the slow zones proposed in Uni Hill would be 13th Street, where we would want to have a slow zone there, in front of like the Fox and the Sink. There are also no parking zones. So these are areas where you're just not allowed to end your trip. And you will be told, the user will be told they're not allowed to end their trip. So some of these are on our multi-use path system where we don't want to see scooters just parked, all over our multi-use path system, blocking it and things like that. But we've got some of those no parking zones. The thing that's really going to affect areas like the Hill is our final geofencing technology, and that is the mandatory parking zone. So a mandatory parking zone is where a scooter user enters that, and if they try to end their trip within that geofence, they will be instructed to the nearest lime grove. So that is the term we're using for a lime parking area. So I think it was, yes, on this, here's a shot of a lime grove. Very simple delineators, lime paint, the logo, and this is where people will be instructed to park their Lime scooters if they're ending their trip in one of these mandatory parking zones. Essentially, University Hill, the commercial area and a little bit of the neighborhood around it is a mandatory parking zone. So within that mandatory parking zone, we are looking at all different lime groves. You'll be able to get this presentation. I've already sent it to Lisa. And if you look at the bottom of this, there's a hyperlink to the proposed map. This is a link to a Google map that you can look at and zoom in and see any area of the city that you want and where we're currently using these different types of geofencing technology. This is kind of focused in on the hill itself. And so the blue is the mandatory parking zone. The red is no-go zones. The yellow is the slow zone on 13th Street. And the purple markers are where we're proposing to have these lime groves, so these dedicated parking areas. And I've listed some of these here. You can certainly go onto the map and look at them and zoom in and see where they are. Currently, Lime has submitted revocable permit applications for these lime groves. Our city's transportation operations team is reviewing them right now. I think they've completed most of the review for the downtown lime groves. They're working on all of the University Hill ones right now, so we may see some changes. All of the proposed lime groves at this point are above the curb on the sidewalk, utilizing concrete space that we think will not impede pedestrian traffic and are usually typically also located to where we have currently have bicycle parking as well. There may be some need in some of the more residential areas for lime groves that would need to be below the curb. We know that the sidewalks in many of our residential areas on the hill are narrow, older sidewalks. So we may, based on information on usage and if we have problems with improperly parked scooters, we may have to think about where do we need additional lime groves, and in those residential situations, we may have to think of, do we need to pour a concrete pad if we want it above curb, or can we use like the corners of some streets where parking isn't allowed, a vehicle parking, that we could use some lime groves. So again, it will be an iterative process. We'll see, where our problem spots are, and then we'll adjust and look at that. And but we'll certainly want to hear any input that the commission has and what they hear about as we launch this citywide. Also, just to recap on some of the rules about scooter use. So this is all based on ordinances that the city council passed last year, that scooters are supposed to be ridden on streets and in bike lanes. They're not supposed to be in our dismount zones, on sidewalks. The places where scooter users can ride on the sidewalk is where there is not an adjacent bike lane or bike facility of some type, and they are not in a dismount zone. So sidewalk riding is allowed, but it's just in places where you don't have these types of facilities. And with that, I'd like, any feedback, questions that the commission has, and specifically, on our current geofencing plan for the University Hill area. But thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And I can go back to the map if you want to look at the map.
I just have one question on slow zones of why College Avenue between 12th and 14th, Broadway, why was that not considered a slow zone when 13th was?
We did consider it. That was really based on, Lime's recommendation. But if that is a concern or something that you would like, we can certainly change that. I'm sure you are aware more of the pedestrian activity that's there. We can make any of those changes. It's really not difficult to add a geofence. And if there's a concern about College, we can add that as a additional slow zone, kind of make it a T slow zone.
It seems like it would make sense. I mean, especially with there's a crosswalk where between Starbucks and Walgreens in particular. And that it's already hard enough with cars. And pedestrians, because that's a major pedestrian crossing, and I could just imagine scooters flying kind of unimpeded down that area. It just seems like that seems like it would make sense.
Okay, what would you propose as being kind of the ends of the what cross streets?
It's 14th. I mean, 14th and Broadway are kind of they kind of connect right there, right? And then 12th, I believe, 12th to the other side. I don't know. I mean, that's just my. It's really just the business district, right? It's just the front.
Yeah, that's great feedback. And we can do that. And that's the good thing about it with these geofences. Literally, they can be changed overnight. So it's not difficult. And, and if any other areas start looking like a problem, we can add more. But I'll
Hey,
put
Chris,
that down.
Have
Yes.
you engaged with the hotel that's about to open? Will there be any? Is that have they requested that be a spot where the scooters are not dropped, especially with that corridor between the buildings?
Yeah, so I haven't spoken to them directly, but I have talked to other city staff in our planning and development services that we will likely need to have slow zones and extend the mandatory parking zone to make sure that it covers that whole area, and then work with them on identifying a couple of Lime Grove locations. But I haven't talked to the developers themselves directly. But it's certainly in our mind for when it opens.
Well, thanks, Chris, for this update. It's so interesting, the technology and how you can manage these, the Lime scooters. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I have a quick question, Chris. Broadway, if you're heading north on Broadway, going up and cresting the hill, and then you go due north there, is that a no-go zone for scooters? Are you forced into the bike paths? The reason I ask that is that it's a pretty busy section for cars. And if you're supposed to be riding on the road, that could be a section where we want to encourage people by basically making it evident you should not be on the road here. It's dangerous enough. We get bikers through there all the time that think that they should just stay in the middle of Broadway, and it just creates hazards.
Yeah, the one problem with geofencing technology is that, it's not 100% accurate. There's, sometimes a plus or minus 10 feet. If there's high buildings around, it could be a plus or minus 20, 30 feet, depending how it is. So it may be difficult to just put a very small no-go zone. But we certainly, we had the same conversation about Broadway and Pearl Street and making Broadway a no-go zone. And I was like, I just can't see people riding a scooter on Broadway, like on the street on Broadway, heading towards Pearl Street, like from Canyon. But there may be people who do it, but hopefully that's where they do go on the sidewalk. They would be permitted on the sidewalk because there's not an adjacent bike facility. Let me look at that area and see what Lime proposes. They deal with these types of situations in every city that they operate in. And They're really expanding their system in Denver. And I can see, what is it that we can do to, make sure that people are riding safely and not on streets with high speed and high volume traffic.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
We've prescribed common sense.
Yeah. Well, it's easier said than done, Mr. Jones.
Is there a test for that on someone's phone?
Yeah, that's part of the sobriety test.
Actually, along that point, one quick question, is riding a scooter, is it a DUI if you're intoxicated?
They're classified as a vehicle. You can get a DUI on a bicycle.
Sure.
I may have to check that, but I would say the way in which we've classified them as electric vehicles, I think it would, but I'll just confirm that with our city attorney's office.
It might be nice, I don't know if the app tells you that that's a possible risk, but I could just see somebody showing up that's a freshman and, shouldn't be drinking but did and ends up in serious trouble because they didn't know the rules. I don't know. It feels the right thing to do.
Yep. I guess kind of in line, does this commission have any opinion on the curfew?
It seems reasonable to me. I think that students do start moving around at 10 at night, kind of is when you start seeing a fair amount of movement back and forth to downtown and the Hill and around the district. I don't know what anybody else sees at night, but typically the student population is kind of calling studying an end and starting their socializing around that time. So I think two things. I think there's probably some partying going on, so maybe it's not great to go after 11 o'clock, but I do see transportation needs maybe after 11 o'clock, but it sounds like the university, if they don't have any curfew, certainly for those that are studying, they can get around campus as needed.
Yeah, so Chris, real question there. I think that it's reasonable 11 p.m., but with the university not having a curfew, maybe helpful to understand what the boundaries of that curfew are. Are we talking the main campus? Are we talking between Willville and the main campus, both?
I believe it is the main campus and East Campus is where they would not have a curfew, but you're kind of, because the city has a curfew, you're kind of would be on an island. So Lime's concern is that they're going to have to do a lot of rebalancing of scooters because they're going to be at the edges of campus, all piled up, if people are riding them after 11. Lime really wants us to get rid of the curfew and to employ the sobriety test. That's what they really want. I think, from staff's perspective, we are still just concerned, we have safety concerns about it. But I'm interested in the sobriety test. I just like to see a third party evaluation of it, like an accredited institute or something to say, yes, this is effective in weeding out people that are intoxicated and should not be riding.
May I pose a question for the commission relating to this? Are multimodal transportation options after hours important to achieving the goals of the commission, particularly when RPD service is no longer operating?
Within the limits of safety, I think it's competing considerations, right?
So would a sobriety test on the app appease any security related or safety related concerns when it comes to providing multimodal transportation options when less might be available?
Sounds like there's some study might be necessary in terms of the effectiveness and, but from my perspective, the effectiveness and being the father of 2 college students, the ability of them to get their friends who are sober to pass the test quickly and jump on the bike.
I'm good. I'm just asking you questions because, there are certainly people who are going to use mobility devices intoxicated, but there's also a challenge when it comes to late night employees, not so much on the University Hill right now because we don't allow things to stay open very after 11. So just want to think about how other folks who might be behaving appropriately might not be able to use a transportation device as a result of our safety approach that might lead to other safety implications.
I will add that, having, and I know that we have lighting in the neighborhood, in the residential section, but sometimes walking home later in the dark feels less safe. And I would almost see that, drinking or imbibing in general aside, it does feel like it's a safer way to get home from other parts of the city after 11 o'clock. But then there's also Uber, so.
I guess another question consistent with that is, Chris may know the answer to this. I feel like we might have addressed it with downtown Boulder, but how is a bike any different? Right? I mean, if they're riding those bikes and is the accident rate higher and the injury rate higher with scooters, and you can drive a bike without taking a sobriety test or after the curfew, right?
Yes, that is another one of Lime's arguments with the city is that there's no such curfew with B-Cycle.
Well, I would say Lime probably has a little more liability than an individual riding their own bike. So I would think they would want to curfew a little more, but maybe it's counterintuitive to what they're trying to achieve.
I think it'll be really interesting to hear what happens with the university moving forward, that them not having a curfew may be something for us to pay a lot of attention to, and what those numbers start looking like, because that could be really valuable information. The Hill's right next to a no curfew zone. It's across the street. So if it turns out that this is something that is safe and the numbers is bearing that out, we may be able to use the Hill as a way of expanding that. But if it turns out the other way around, it could be really a great cautionary bit of data for us to be paying attention to.
Yeah, and Ted, I can assure you that we work every day with this Lime expansion with CU staff, Clark and Brandon and Tom McGann, and so we will monitor it, we will look at it, and we'll work together on assessing the situation to make sure that we can balance safety with multimodal options. I think that's the key, is the balance.
Okay. Anyone else have comments or questions? And Chris, did you get the information you were?
Yes.
From the commissioner?
I'm certainly going to look at that slow zone. I'll look at that Broadway area, follow up with the CU Conference Center, and then also the DUI question. So I'll do those follow-ups.
All right. Thanks so much, Chris.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Moving on to the proposed budget for 2024.
Can I apologize, Cheryl, but I let the staff know, but I've got to leave at 5:30 today. My apologies, but could I just throw out 2 questions for the future discussions here, and staff can answer them with the rest of the commissioners and or by email later, or whatever's convenient for folks. The one is I see in the proposed budget, this $2.5 million expenditure in 2025. And I've got, it's not clear to me, and maybe it's not clear to staff either, what it's for. I mean, in terms of, it says we're gonna spend the money to revitalize the 14th Street lot, but it's almost like a placeholder because nobody knows what we're gonna do with that lot. So just, I throw that out. It worried me when I saw $2.5 million disappearing like that. The other is that I saw, and folks that I've put in my concern as well about this, we've got in the city, the memo to council, there's a reference of regulatory issues. And one of them is the moratorium on student housing. And I understand that, you know, there's that economic planning system study. So my sense is that this was giving, you know, council needs to address that study and figure out, hey, is that something we still want to pursue? Although the TAP panel, as I read the TAP proposals, it was, we want to increase diversity on the Hill, and we want, and we've got this faculty concept perhaps, but there was no suggestion of actually making the Hill sort of, you know, adding student housing to the Hill itself. Except there's this weird thing in the TAP presentation. I noticed it that night too. It says eliminate moratorium and liquor and cannabis, but they never anywhere talk about the student housing issue. Did the moratorium apply to the liquor moratorium, or was it a more general all moratoriums?
I believe the TAP's recommendations were strictly to the liquor rules. However, faculty housing, there would be implications with the current housing moratorium, but I don't know that their recommendations were that is something that needs to be done district-wide.
So I threw a couple of things out there anyway, just to let folks know. Again, my apologies, I'm going to leave early today. Yeah, so thanks everyone.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, with that, we will hand it over to Teresa Engel, who will go over the proposed 2024 budget for community vitality and specifically UJET.
All right. Just quickly, kind of an overview of the things we'll talk through is just, again, revisiting the roles and responsibilities of the commission, looking at top priorities, reviewing some of the key accomplishments, and then we'll dive into an overview of the 2024 budget holistically for the community vitality department, as well as getting into the details for UJID, and then look at any feedback or questions, and then some suggested motion language for support of that budget. So jumping right in, just wanted to kind of review what some of the roles and responsibilities of the district are. Sorry about that. So this is coming from the statute language. So obviously providing general parking program, providing parking, pedestrian, multimodal access. And so that could include parking and off-street parking facilities, acquisition and lease of land for improvements, other incidental facilities to improve parking, paying attention to pedestrian, bicyclist amenities, as well as just the general landscaping and the feel of the Hill. We want to make sure that there's improvements that are increasing attractiveness and welcoming environment of the Hill, and then incentives to increase multimodal transportation to and from the Hill. And then obviously maintenance of all of those assets. As we've looked at the different priorities, we've identified safety and cleanliness on the Hill as a huge priority, looking at commercial area revitalization opportunities, looking at developing and enhancing some of those strategic partnerships with different entities, including CU, DEP, and others. Looking at creating the Hill as a destination, making sure that it stays on the map. And then obviously our considerations for the UJID Fund Health and making sure that it's in a good place to continue to provide these great services. Over the last year, we've had a lot of actually really great, exciting things happening. We were able to finalize the Hill landscaping project. So that's the bottom left photo. We've got some new planter beds as well as new trees that have been included.
The Hill Boulder website went live with some really great information. Some to see the events popping up and actually being a great resource now. Regan did a great job in pulling off our ULI TAP grant and looking at the information that's coming out of that as we go to council here in about a week. We've also had an expansion of the ambassadors on the Hill in partnership with the Downtown Boulder Partnership, or excuse me, with CU and being able to contribute some additional funding for that. And then we've also designated some ARPA funding to really focus in on commercial area activations and looking at ways to support the business community and bring some life back to the Hill. There's a lot of great work happening. As we look at the overall budget process, I know we kind of went through this in our last meeting together, but right now we're in the citywide budget development / council review and adoption phase, which really leads into kind of our prioritization from a commission standpoint, that then we have building those priorities into the department work plan, making sure that we're being strategic in our planning as we go throughout the year. And right now we're sitting here, it's kind of crazy already into August, but so kind of following on this timeline in the end of July, where we do have our executive budget team reviewing budget proposals currently. I'm preparing to go to council here in about a month in September. And again, we've had some exciting and unique changes to the department as a whole. So just providing some insight for community vitality. We are home to the 4 general improvement districts within KGID, UGID, and then the 2 Boulder Junction general improvement districts. We also recently had the arts and culture and special events work groups join us. And so some of the funding is coming from the general fund. And then we also have ARPA funds that obviously Regan is taking the charge on helping to invest those here in the Hill. And then the community culture, same thing, resilience taxes, primarily a component of the arts and culture program. Just want to provide that for awareness. As we look at the primary revenues and expenses across community vitality, obviously parking revenue is a primary driver within those 4 general improvement districts. We do have a mill levy associated with each. We've got lease spaces in KGID, specific ownership tax, other revenues, and then on our expense side, obviously the driving force there, personnel to implement all these great programs, operating some internal services, which are going to be helping to fund our computer replacement programs and different things like that, as well as debt service that actually the department has only one outstanding debt that actually retires this month. So that's exciting. And then our capital and transfers. So overall within community vitality, we have a proposed slight decrease in our operating budget prior to capital. A lot of that has to do with our transition to gatelets, that because of that transition, some of our existing service contracts will no longer be necessary with this new technology. You can see we do have some lofty aspirations in our capital department, where we see a pretty big increase, which is driving the total 7.5% increase on our total operating budget. And we'll get into some of the specific capital projects here in a moment. Some of the general enhancements that we're looking at from a department-wide level is looking at bringing in a new board specialist to help support all of the board and commission work that we do with all of you, to make sure that we're getting you the best support necessary. And then with the expansion of our department to include special events and arts and culture, we also picked up the Arts Commission and just want to provide adequate support to staff. And that is with the intent to repurpose an existing full-time employee position. That was part of our customer service team. We're also looking to expand our special events program. Right now, it's a mighty team of 1. And so we're looking for some additional support there. And then on the arts and culture side, they're looking to update the community cultural plan. We're advocating for, again, an extension of the Downtown Ambassador program and propose that as an ongoing expenditure. And then we've done a lot of great work with our access management parking strategy for everything from performance-based pricing to the different neighborhood parking permit programs. And so we asked to continue that funding on, as it needs continuing monitoring and evaluation. As we dive into the UGID budget specifically, some of the big things I'll highlight is we have asked and proposed for an increase in the transfer from the general fund. And that has seen some variation over the last few years with COVID. So in 2023, we were approved at 270,000. We are looking to increase that to 350,000 if possible. Just some slight adjustments you'll notice on the parking revenue component. Looking at actuals received, we're projecting a 77% increase, which is favorable. I think there was some question as to the performance of the 14th Street lot and what implications of the Pleasant Street lot no longer being in use. But so we're hopeful that those parking revenue trends will continue and be a great support to the district. There's been a slight decrease in the projection for property tax, and partly that was just a realignment down to meet actuals, and then a little bit of a bump up to consider the property tax that will be generated from the Hill Hotel. And I would anticipate as we go into the 2025 budget, that's where we'll see those the implications of the Hill Hotel's completion affecting our property tax revenue. So we're looking forward to that. On the expense side, we're seeing some projections increasing on our personnel side, just as a product of overall wages. And on the operating side, projecting a little bit of a decrease. And again, one of the things we're really working on now is to evaluate where the expenses are, making sure that we're being as responsible as we can with the UGID fund. And so that comes down to the staff level and making sure that we're attributing costs in the districts where applicable. And so you're seeing a slight decrease there. You'll notice in the capital line, we do have a $15,000 allocation, and that's associated with the cross-district consulting program. That will aim, it's $75,000 total contribution across all of the districts, and looking at where opportunities are for connectivity across all of the districts and making sure that we have a unified front as we move forward. The total breakdown, obviously the transfer from the general fund is really driving the majority of the proposed revenue for the UGID budget. Our personnel expenses are our largest expense, and followed by those operations. So I did want to jump in to, we've kind of already talked through these, so I won't spend a lot of time here, but did want to just bring us back to the capital. I will note, and I do appreciate the comment about the 14th Street lot redevelopment. We're in an interesting place where the budget proposals are due prior to the ULI TAP and prior to our opportunity to go and visit with council. And so it is a placeholder in many ways as we seek direction on where the council and the commission would like to go as far as reinvestment of those Pleasant Street funds. And as I mentioned, the cross-district consulting is the other big project that is going to be touching the UGID fund. And I believe the packet did include summaries of these other capital improvement projects, primarily happening within the CAGID district, as we look to maintain a lot of the parking infrastructure and assets there. So with that, were there any questions that I can address for you all?
I don't have any questions. I'm just gonna look back at my notes here. No, I don't have any questions.
Great. As part of,
I might speak just to go back to Commissioner Shoemaker's questions about the 2.5 million. Yes, it is a placeholder that was programmed several years ago before we started going down these having these other conversations. And so just because it's identified in a capital program doesn't mean that it doesn't still generate interest revenue for the fund. It's just right now it's targeted to a project that was envisioned a number of years ago. If it's decided we want to go a different direction, we certainly have complete capacity to do that.
Great, and so we have provided some suggested motion language. If commission is comfortable recommending approval of the proposed 2024 budget, including the 2024 to 2029 capital plan.
Trent? Or Ted, do you have any? I guess, as far as the proposed budget, including 2024 through 2029 capital improvement plans. The hill is the 14th Street lot. I'm trying to think back to the packet. That was the only proposal.
Actually, no.
for-
So that's already approved in previous CIP budgets. The one change is the 25K, is it 25?
It's 15.
15K for this cross-district consulting. So this
Oh,
is tied,
okay, Cross district.
that's the new capital proposal.
Okay. So as far as language goes,
Cheryl, if you will, I will move to recommend the approval of the 2024 Community Vitality proposed budget, including the 2024-2029 capital improvement plan.
okay,
I'll
thank you. I was just about to
Yeah.
read that myself. And I second.
Discussion about this?
No discussion.
All right, we had 2 seconds, so although I did hear the second over here first.
Yeah, I said it, sorry, but well, maybe it was the gap in the
But
internet.
maybe I presume that we have unanimous approval with all of that, so we can let the minutes reflect a unanimous vote. All right, let's move on now. Then thank you so much, Teresa, for all your
Thank you,
hard work
Teresa.
on the budget. Let's move now over to Regan. She is working very hard on getting ready for our study session with council, which is a week from Thursday, where we are going to be daylighting a lot of the experiences and conversations that we've been having at UCampC regarding issues and challenges on the Hill and where we want to be going. So we're really looking forward to being able to take that to council in a formal way and having the community be more aware of the things that we've all been talking about and facing for some time. So Regan's here. I need to make sure you can share your screen.
Oh, wait, I think I can.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you should be able to already. This is her first run at this presentation that she's been preparing for council. There will be some additions made because they did not participate in the ULI TAP. Not all of them participated in that. So we are doing some preparation for next for the council meeting, but also looking forward to getting your feedback, and we'll be including that in the council meeting presentation as well. So with that, over to Regan.
1 second, just because of Zoom, I can't click on the presentation, that's present button. Oh, there we go. Okay, wait, now.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, but now I can't see my notes. There we go. All right. Just minimize Zoom. Okay, so yeah, as Chris mentioned, we're going to council next week for a study session, providing an update and receiving council feedback on revitalization efforts within UGID. And so this is for the most part, the presentation that I will be delivering next week, just addressing it to council rather than UCampC, but any and all feedback is welcome. Go through the agenda really quick. So I'll be posing just some guiding questions that I'd like you all to think about as I run through the presentation, and I'll pose the same questions to council as well. So just keep them in mind as I run through this presentation. And here they are here. So number 1, does UCampC support staff's recommendation to prioritize the development of a broad district-wide improvement strategy in advance of exploring site-specific redevelopment options for the 14th Street lot? Does UCAMC wish to direct staff to explore code changes in the upcoming annual work plan that are specific only to within UJID? And then does UCAMC have any questions about proposed next steps? So let's dive into the background, and this will include a general background of the history of UJID, some key issues that we face today, past plans and studies, and kind of tying it all together. Why are we tackling this work now? So of course, the focus is on University Hill, formerly known as UJID, which is full of unique history and unique characteristics, especially given its proximity to the university. UJID and some of the key sites within the district that I'll be referencing can be seen here on the map on the left-hand side of the slide. It's a neighborhood that connects the large student life and residential community to a dynamic commercial district. UJID was established in 1970 at the request of property owners who wanted to tax themselves in order to purchase land that could provide customers with additional parking spaces. One of those parcels of land is the 14th Street surface parking lot at 14th Street and south of College Ave, and is the only remaining general improvement district owned lot in the commercial district. UJID recently sold its other parking asset in 2021, the Pleasant Street lot, to facilitate the development of the Hill Hotel, which of course significantly reduced the number of public parking spots on the Hill, as well as reduced the operating revenue for UJID. And as many of us know, there are several new developments underway on the Hill, which include the Hill Hotel and the CU Conference Center. The size and scope of these projects will certainly have an impact on the commercial district. However, even in the face of this rapid development and growth, UJID has experienced a state of economic stagnation for the past several decades, which has really only been exacerbated by the pandemic. It's become a place where community members have expressed concerns of feeling unsafe, access to a diverse business mix is limited, and connectivity to and from downtown and within the district is challenging. So in summary, our goal is to formulate strategies that will generate positive and lasting economic impact and complement the new developments that are underway. So UJID has a set of ordinances that are unique in comparison to the rest of the city. Those key regulations are displayed here on this slide. I'll start with the one on the left. Due to concerns with alcohol overconsumption, City Council adopted Boulder Revised Code 965B in October 2013, which requires at least 50% of any eating place's sales on the Hill must be from the sale of food. And there's no requirement related to this in the rest of the city. And establishments must close no later than 11 p.m., which is 2 a.m. compared to the rest of the city. And it is important to note that no businesses on the Hill are open past 11 p.m. unless they have closed altogether or adjusted their operating hours. Or is it 10 p.m., Chris?
10 p.m. No, so no restaurants, brew pubs, or taverns today. Even those that were grandfathered in, there are no remaining restaurants, brew pubs, or taverns that remain open after 10 p.m.
And then on the right-hand side, so in 2015, Boulder Revised Code 963B was adopted to address the concern that the economic environment strongly favors student rental housing within UJID, making it difficult for other diverse land uses to compete in the marketplace and posing a threat to the vibrancy of the commercial district. So in August 2014, Council passed a temporary moratorium, which was then extended in 2015 and subsequently changed to restrict all new housing on the Hill to be permanently affordable. And so in summary, current regulatory conditions do create a more restrictive environment compared to the rest of the city. And we've heard from many businesses regarding some of, particularly the regulations on the left-hand side, that this is in fact fairly difficult to achieve because the restaurant industry does, of course, rely heavily on the sale of alcohol. Safety has been an ongoing challenge within UJID and the broader Hill area, with over 30 years of intermittent violence, primarily due to crowd and party behavior. The Hill Reinvestment Working Group, which was formed in 2015 to pursue a Hill revitalization or reinvestment strategy to identify funding and other mechanisms for ongoing improvements on the Hill, has placed significant attention and resources to the issue of safety through various mechanisms and outreach. However, the commercial district still struggles with several challenges related to safety and crime. Local business owners have expressed their frustrations around certain behaviors occurring in front of their storefronts and elsewhere in the commercial district, including panhandling, loitering, drug use, etc. A recent effort to try to mitigate these challenges includes CU contributing an additional $45,000 annually to expand the ambassador program on the Hill. And for those who don't know, ambassadors provide cleaning, safety, and hospitality services downtown and on the Hill. And it's not on this slide, but it's also important to know, and I know Teresa outlined them earlier, but some other recent efforts, landscaping efforts at the intersection of 13th in Pennsylvania, as well as a lot of coordination with the Hill Boulder on activations and business support and retention efforts. Not necessarily directly related to safety, but definitely ties into general improvement efforts within the district. So even with these recent efforts, there are still opportunities for additional improvements to be made. UGID Fund Health. There is limited capacity to fund general improvements with UGID property tax revenues, which amount to significantly less than our other special districts. UGID relies heavily on the general fund in contrast to the city's other special districts. The general fund transfer offsets UGID expenses related to general fund activities such as the EcoPass program and the administration and maintenance of the on-street meter program. Several trade-offs are to be considered related to the reinvestment of the Pleasant Street lot sale proceeds. Delayed reinvestment of the funds, which are currently in savings earning interest, only perpetuates the limited access due to the decrease in parking spaces, and redevelopment of the 14th Street lot, which could ultimately, if redeveloped, result in additional property tax revenue, retail lease, and/or parking revenue. However, according to the current budget assumptions and use of those savings in 2025, which I know we mentioned is a placeholder, it would ultimately see a negative. We would see a negative fund balance by 2027. So any revitalization strategies really need to take these trade-offs into consideration. Business retention challenges. So the commercial district and business environment on the Hill caters heavily to the student population and has struggled for decades to attract a diverse mix of businesses. As it stands today, there is a 14% commercial vacancy rate, and the business mix is depicted here on the right-hand side of the slide. As you can see, there are several restaurants, but also personal care services, convenience stores, retail such as smoke and skate shops, again, really heavily catering to that student population. And there have been several closures over the past year, including a lot of well-known businesses, Rosenberg's, the Dumpling Deli, Sherry's Soda Shop, which was only open for a few months, if I recall, Boss Lady Pizza. So as we all know, UGID has been the focus of several studies over the years, many of them outlined here on this slide. I'll briefly touch on each of them in case you're unfamiliar, and they're all in the document in the memo as well, linked in the memo that was included in your packet. So the University Hill sub-area plan, this was a sketch plan undertaken in 1996 to build a vision for the community based on needs around public safety, connectivity, and economic growth. We did a ULI TAP in 2011 with the purpose of assessing revitalization strategies for the district, in which recommendations fell into various categories such as governance and programming. But this was, of course, over a decade ago, and many changes have occurred since then. So it is a bit outdated, but useful to build upon. 2017 Central Broadway Corridor Design Framework. This is a guiding document recommending urban design improvements along Broadway, including how to better connect downtown to the Hill. And then recently, the EBS 14th Street lot feasibility study conducted in 2021, which recommended a primary strategy of pursuing that market rate housing option, which of course faces important limitations given the current regulatory environment. And then most recently in June, the 2023 ULI TAP opportunity, which I will outline several of their recommendations later in the presentation. So sort of tying it all together, it's important to understand why we're here now and why are we tackling this work now. Based on feedback received as a result of the EBS work, staff prioritized engaging with the TAP once again back in June to assess broader strategies for the district. We understand that a lot of the previous efforts, they're either outdated or took a very narrow focus on specific elements of the district. So revisiting broad strategies seemed appropriate. And as I mentioned, the district has continuously struggled with some of these economic and social challenges that I've outlined, from business retention to safety and crime. These are challenges that really need prioritizing at this point. We see an opportunity to invest in strategies that complement the new developments underway rather than waiting to see how these developments will impact the district. Let's leverage them as an opportunity to be proactive and implement strategies that will be complementary to them. And ultimately, it's time to act and time to respond to the increasing community desire to see positive change in a neighborhood that is really special to a lot of people and that our community really does want to see thrive. And now I will talk about some key considerations that we used for analysis and that will help guide our work and decision-making around implementing specific projects and initiatives. The first being long-term fund health for UGID, ensuring that we develop a financial approach to the long-term viability of the district. Parking and access, ensuring people are able to access the district, whether through an increase in parking or other forms of transportation, is an important consideration. Connectivity, getting to the Hill, whether through providing better connection along 13th or another mode, is a key consideration. And then lastly, economic vitality and resilience. It's incredibly important that any revitalization strategy contribute to long-term positive growth for the district. So the recommendations that I'll be sharing are from our most recent convening with ULI TAP, and they take the form of two different approaches. One approach focusing on these broader revitalization efforts that staff recommends implementing in the near term, and the other approach narrowing in on the 14th Street lot, which we recommend implementing in the longer term, ideally the next 3 to 5 years. So there are 3 categories that the broad revitalization recommendations fall into: rebrand, connect, and activate. Rebrand, the Hill would benefit from a wayfinding and branding campaign to help create a sense of place and community and help folks navigate the district. Connect, improving connectivity along 13th Street. This aligns with suggestions from other city plans. Making the Hill easier to get to and improving the connectivity within the district is a need and an opportunity that we've heard repeatedly. And then lastly, activate. So again, we're partnering with the Hill Boulder on some upcoming commercial area activation funds with ARPA funding, but let's expand on that to plan other activations, leveraging and building on the Hill's creativity and energy to potentially revitalize positive nightlife and other events, maybe pulling from the alleyway enhancements plan that was conducted in 2018 to bring some of our alleyways to life. And then narrowing in on the 14th Street surface lot. So again, these recommendations were formulated from our convening with the ULI TAP. They really take the form of 2 different directions, which include maintaining UGID oversight and structure on the parcel or selling or leasing the lot to a private developer. If we maintain oversight, there were 3 recommendations that the TAP outlined. One is this maximum parking garage option, which suggests a 3-level parking garage providing approximately 150 additional parking spaces for the district. The other option is a parking garage with retail, which presents an opportunity for a larger retail tenant, such as a grocery store. And then lastly, parking garage with retail and faculty housing. There would be parking, I believe, on the below ground level here. But this could be an opportunity to partner with CU while addressing some of the retail and parking challenges that we've seen on the Hill. And then on the flip side, we could sell or lease the lot through a 100-year land lease to a private developer. This opportunity suggests that the city work with a private developer in which we would determine what could exist or replace the existing surface parking lot, and some potential outcomes, as you can see in the pretty pictures on the left here, a boutique hotel, a social club, a food and community hub, etc. And revenue from the sale of the lot could potentially be used as an endowment as a way of offering UGID long-term financial sustainability. So in summary, we are recommending and believe that prioritizing broader strategies in the near term would benefit the district in that it will enhance the district vitality, it'll generate positive economic growth while also providing UGID with an opportunity to adapt to many of the upcoming changes with the new developments. It also gives staff time to focus on creating a broader district-wide strategy that will help inform the reinvestment of the 14th Street lot, ideally over the next 3 to 5 years. And so with that, some next steps we've identified, one being, if council supports this direction, facilitate coordination among other city departments. Hill revitalization will require involvement from a lot of stakeholders, a lot of city staff. So an immediate next step would be coordinating with those folks to assess roles and responsibilities. We recommend developing an RFP to secure planning and design consultant services to help us identify feasible and actionable projects that can be executed in the near term. Projects that align with these broader goals of rebranding, connecting, and activating can be implemented over the next 1 to 3 years. And then lastly, community engagement and stakeholder check-ins. Any revitalization efforts will of course involve input from the broader community. We would work with our communication engagement department to help us with outreach and soliciting community feedback, including engaging with our community connectors. We'll also plan to check in regularly with UCAMC, council, other boards and commissions, and additional key partners and stakeholders to receive direction and feedback. So with that, I'll pose these guiding questions again and kind of just open the floor and see if you guys have any comments or feedback.
I have some thoughts, but I'd love to hear from the other commissioners if they have some thoughts.
I'll hop in and take a lead. So generally, if I'll start with the guiding questions. I think number one, I'm generally in support of. I think that we need to be careful with this final asset, frankly, and participating in the ULI TAP really helped me understand just how many different possible outcomes there could be. And spending some time to figure that out and do it right, I think makes some sense. And so I think that's what that first question is saying.
Yes.
Take some time to figure out what that asset means and how we can use it best. Whether or not we continue to use it as an asset or maintain it as an asset, or if it isn't one, that should be something we take time to decide. That's my opinion. Number two, the code changes. My feeling on that has always been essentially that should be specifically about the liquor licensing, that it may be cannabis licensing, I don't know if we should utter the words, that is currently so restrictive on the Hill.
Mhm.
That what we have there is a condition that is curtailing current businesses even from considering expanding, let alone trying to get new businesses to open up new concepts and try to do things up there. That what's going on right now in the Innisfree building or the former Innisfree building is just so sad. I mean, those individuals have spent all this money and it's just sitting there. Hopefully it will open in the next few weeks. I don't know if we know, but I know there's been a considerable delay associated with that, and that could be something we could help. I'll stop with any questions. The one thing that I would say that could be helpful is that I think City Council I appreciate giving background on where the Hill has been. It may be good to kind of focus a little bit on how positive the place has been at points in the past. Because it's a little doom and gloom in terms of what has occurred, maybe if you look at it through a certain lens in the last 30 years. So it's my only kind of piece of feedback is, it's also been a really fun place to be, despite a lot of the challenges that the Hill has had to face. So,
Okay, no, that's helpful. Thank you.
yeah.
And to Ted, to your point, I feel like this is really about the commercial district. And I feel like a lot of the behaviors of the residential area are being kind of lumped into the whole area. And I think it would be important to maybe provide some separation between what happens in what's currently and for the past few years has been happening in the residential section has nothing to do with the commercial district, and some of these code changes may have even contributed to partially the downfall of the district. And I agree, Ted, that the doom and gloom, I would love to see of violence and safety, and I'd love to see something more positive in there. I think a lot of the issues that have received a lot of press have happened in the commercial district. And if there's a way to even kind of quantify or separate the data about whether or not this decline of the commercial district had anything to do with the behavior in the commercial district. And yeah, the regulatory barriers are, I think, key for number 2. So in general, I recommend, I support everything that Ted said about exploring all the possibilities. I think one caution for me would be, why would we be spending a lot of money on design and concepts, which is going to continue to drive that available pot of money down if we haven't clearly looked at what we think the best use is? Or are we doing yet another study to see what that 14th Street lot could be by spending money and calling it design? I'm not sure that I understand. Maybe honing in on one concept that we think after further exploration could work. I don't know if anybody else feels. I just get nervous about spending money on things like designs and concepts when we haven't really crystallized a direction that everybody agrees is the right direction.
Right, which is understandable. And my understanding, Cheryl, is the the planning and design consultant services would be focused towards those broader revitalization efforts, not specific to the law. So helping us identify strategies, actionable projects for rebranding, activating, connecting the district to the rest of the city. Is that correct, Chris?
So,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't know that rebranding the district. I see the branding and the connectivity. I think there is, I think people know how to connect to the district. They just don't want to. And if rebranding isn't going to, I guess it depends how broad rebranding really is. And the other, when we talk about activating the district, we don't really have a support staff to create these events. I think Jake was very positive, but for part of a group who has tried to do activations on the Hill for a very long time, it gets, if there's a bigger event, where do people park? Is everybody going to take a bus up to the Hill? So I think funding is an issue for activation, and parking is an issue for activation. And then the regulatory barriers are also a problem for the types of businesses that may want to bring, add to the fun that can be the Hill. The businesses that are choosing to shut down at 10 because there's not really anything else going on, and why stay open later? I don't think, some of these businesses don't have to close down at 10. There's just not a reason to stay open. So I'm not sure what branding is going to do. I guess I'm unclear there.
so largely this presentation, what we're taking to council is a response to what we heard from the technical advisory panel, which recommended that redevelopment of 14th Street in the near term might not yield the results that the district actually needs, and that would be better to understand and respond to the Hill Hotel and the conference center opening up, and making sure that folks are choosing to come to the Hill.
No,
when
I
they're
get
staying
that.
in the
I
space.
just don't agree with that as a strategy, I guess.
So that's good feedback. If you're not suggesting from your seat that we should be spending time, energy, and resources on those broader initiatives, then we need to.
If rebranding includes an alley improvement plan, absolutely.
I think activating includes pulling from that alley enhancement plan and implementing some efforts there. We can certainly revisit the branding.
When I hear activation, I just hear events to draw people up to the commercial district. So I guess activation to me is different from alley improvement. Which lends itself to safe and clean. And it can expand, to maybe more artistic and fun, but if safe and clean is really a top priority in attracting businesses and customers alike, including those from the new hotel. Though that to me is very short term and very clear as far as what has to happen.
But I would jump in on just to your point, Cheryl. I think branding looked at in a not just physically, but as a part of a bigger sort of thought process, especially of all those people who will be staying there for the first time. You know, for me, branding includes why, where are you? Why are you there? Why is it there? It's a much bigger conversation. It's something that we could actually do pretty quickly compared to some of the other longer term pieces. And I think that could help people sort of rally around the hill. It used to be a brand. It used to have a bit of a brand. That was a little more tangible, I think. And I do think that that's a pretty important piece of the puzzle and something that could be done much faster, because I think the brand, when you think of the Hill brand, it is music, right? It is all these different things. And I think that branding exercise would help us pull that together in a more complete package for people who don't know why, you know, where they are or why they're up there. So, you know, I don't just think it means like putting up a big sign saying welcome to the Hill. I think it's brand is really more inclusive and comprehensive of different aspects.
Yeah, that would be the intent.
And I think maybe let's change the terminology, maybe rebrand is confusing people a bit and doesn't.
We would not we wouldn't take one flat sign and just replace it with a new logo and a new flat sign.
Yeah, and maybe
was
it's more about
identity.
enhancing the existing brand, giving the district an identity, and also including some wayfinding. I mean, I've had several conversations with Jake about improving the pedestrian wayfinding, helping people navigate the district a little better. So it includes a lot of different components, and maybe rebranding isn't.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, what was the other term you just used? Just identity?
Identity.
District identity.
Because I think that does some of the things we've talked about, Cheryl, of tying some of that history in before it's gone, before people don't know it. That to me is part of that more comprehensive identity piece. And that's not activation, you know, that's not the kind of the other things. It's its own specific thing, I think is pretty important for that area.
When you have an identity.
I agree with that.
So I'm a marketing and communications professional, so I'll just go ahead and weigh in on branding. When you have a brand, it needs to have a solid foundation in reality. It can be aspirational. It definitely can look forward towards a brighter future, but it needs to have a grounding in where something has been and where it is. And I think that that's a part of Cheryl's concern there is, we can't just create something that makes it look like it's fantasy or something like that. It needs to be grounded in reality. And so having a strategy of where we're going in terms of how things will improve, we definitely can build that into an identity of what the Hill can be, but there's got to be some sort of foundation of this is what the Hill represents in that exercise. Otherwise,
Thank you for expressing my concern much better.
people will sniff it out and they'll call it a lie and they won't believe it. And so that's the thing, is really making sure that it is based in reality and is leaning towards an aspirational future that's realistic, that isn't some sort of kind of fiction in the minds of the people who know what the Hill represents today.
So can we build off, I mean, this is kind of getting to the weeds now, but I'm just thinking, can we build off of that positivity that we feel is lacking in the presentation? Because it is kind of dark and gloomy right now. There is a positive side to the Hill. It is a very special place for a lot of people, whether it's the music side or the creativity. So I think that foundation is there. We just need to communicate it better.
Well, I think it's a leverage point to own, for the Hill to own its reason to exist, right? And it's exactly what you're saying. I think the other thing, part of maybe the doom and gloom, and it actually came out yesterday in the Ambassador. It's the I don't know her name, but she was from the residents.
From the neighborhood association.
Yeah, from the neighborhood association, expressing the fact that the residents more than anything, and these aren't the student residents, these, would more than anything love to just stroll over the Hill.
Right.
And feel safe and feel comfortable and have that be an option. And I think that is also sort of missing a little bit from here, is just, while to Cheryl's point, we are a commercial district, but who's coming to do the commerce, right? If we can, and one of our big goals is to attract a different group than just the students and I think that's a really important piece, maybe that was missing a touch, is that this is a community resource and not just a student population resource.
Right.
And from a commercial, from a
Can I
commercial,
just
go
bring
ahead,
up that
Michelle.
we have we're 10 minutes from 6:30, so I just want to make sure that we hit the last agenda item.
I'll be really quick. We're trying to diversify what the commercial district revenue streams are. And the most obvious way to do that is to diversify the audiences we're attracting. Because currently it's very much a student focused identity. So we're trying to diversify that makeup of which audiences, which consumers we're drawing to that district. The other thing I would say, do I have any questions about proposed next steps? Who are our champions in UCAMC? How are we going to get to where we need to be? We need champions. We need champions within the city. We need champions within city, like city workers. We need champions on city council. We need champions in the community. And we need to do a good job of figuring out who those individuals are so we can activate those individuals to help us enact a strategy that will help us be successful into the future. So I know that's all big words, but I think that that's a real key component here. I think we've been missing critical champions who are willing to get involved, get their hands dirty, and really start moving the ball forward and make the difficult decision they want to do. So who are those people?
I think you just volunteered.
I'm one of
Well,
them.
you can't see we're here for that reason, right? But Tara on council, she expressed in our tap, it was me and Andrew. And she proposed, or she asked exactly the same thing. What can I do as a council member to move this forward? Because it's important. So I know that she is one, but we need probably more than one.
So this might actually be able to relax the item under matters from commissioners. This topic came up at council last week related to neighborhood use, commercial use code changes. And council did ask planning staff to take a look at alcohol related regulations specifically for the Hill. So it is on council's radar screen. This study session will reaffirm that it's on council's radar screen. I have no doubt that they're going to say yes to question number 2, specifically as it relates to liquor restrictions and hours of operation. So I think progress has already been made on that front. And I think Tara has been a big part of that. But just to reassure you all that council is waking up to a lot of these issues specifically for the Hill, and planning staff is now responding.
Great.
Real quick,
Anybody have any
if
other?
there's anything more on this item for feedback for Regan for her presentation for council.
The only nitpick, the one slide where it has the sort of 3, the activation,
Rebrand, connect.
yeah, exactly. It says option.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think they should be options. Because it makes it sound, I think that's Cheryl's point of view, it makes it sound like it's all 3 for sure.
No, thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said goal when you were talking through it, but it said option on the screen. I think
Yeah.
goal, but it's a 3-legged kind of thing.
For sure. Real quick, I want to give Lisa an opportunity to provide an update on commission recruitment.
Yes, so a happy update. It's a very positive one. Mid-year commission recruitment, city clerk's office closed the window on July 2nd and reported that the city received 2 applications for UCAMC. One was ineligible, unfortunately. The candidate was not a property owner or representative. They were given an option a couple weeks to obtain like a letter of permission to be a representative, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. But we do have an eligible candidate who was interviewed on July 11th. And we're, moving forward positively with that, and council is planning to appoint new commissioners at their meeting on August 10th. It used to be the 3rd. It was, initially the 3rd, now it's the 10th. And so that'll be before our next meeting
Our next UCAMC meeting,
Yeah.
correct, yes. So
in
so it'll
September.
happen before, there's a special meeting right before the study session that Regan and I will be at. So they presumably will appoint the new commissioner. I think the paperwork's already up. It is Tel Jones from the sync. So barring any concerns of council, which I doubt there will be any, that appointment will be made. Cheryl, the bad news is there is not a candidate to replace you in your seat. So by ordinance, that means you are not allowed to leave your seat until there is a replacement.
Well, there's another female.
Exactly. So my apologies, but we're so glad that hopefully you are willing to continue showing up. You are such an invaluable member of the commission.
I will continue to show up. I think that when it comes time to voting chair and vice chair, I might request that I step back from chair. I have a lot on my plate and the commission might be better served with a new chair after all this time.
Oh, yeah, we will make sure. Yeah.
I'll continue to serve until the next round when we see if we have an eligible female applicant.
Great. We'll put commission elections at the top of the agenda for our next meeting.
The reason I'm expressing that is because I will not be here on September 5th.
Oh, we have two. So we might need.
I am on the bubble. Yes, there's a trip potentially being planned.
We can, at the will of the commission, pursue rescheduling.
Why don't I, because I'm now the one, if Cheryl's saying she definitely isn't, I'm not a definite yet. So as soon as I know my situation, Lisa, I will be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Yes, because that would mean that we don't have a forum. So if let's just put it this way, if you haven't heard from me, we're proceeding as planned on September 5th. Right, and I'm going to try to get back to you in the next 7 days.
Okay. And it sounds like Cheryl, you would like to not be nominated for vice chair either.
I think I could certainly be an alternate if need be, unless, Trent is interested in a bigger role. But I'll leave that up to you guys when you vote in the next meeting.
Right. And so it will follow your lead then,
Yes.
Ted.
Yep.
We will have a new commissioner though, so we can't have a quorum with two absences. But we prefer not to vote
Yeah.
on something like that without more folks.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
I mean, it's possible I could jump into a virtual call. I'll be on the East Coast. And so the meeting for me would start at 6, which would be challenging.
Sure. All right, heard. We'll stay tuned. And with that, we can move on to the matters from commissioners.
Okay, discussion of actionable items for engaging with city council regarding the liquor license requirements for the district. And I think that's all in the study session packet. So I will say I was a little disheartened when I spoke with Lisa Spalding recently this summer, and she still really is doesn't understand that has had an impact with drawing successful business owners into the district, and is still pretty fearful, I think, about what a change to that that code change would mean for the Hill. And so, you know, I'd be happy to grab some coffee with her and talk with her more. I don't know if either of you know Lisa Spalding, but that's the only actionable item that's not related to council as it's already been laid out for council. Any
I don't-
other
I don't-
ideas from you? I mean, I think it would be hard to gather all the data, but again, what's happened in the district as a result of that? Is it that there aren't as many incidents in the commercial area of the Hill? Or is that simply a result of more of the ticketed offenses and problems have all just moved to the residential area where they originated to begin with? So I don't know the best way to communicate that. If the data might show that there are fewer problems in the commercial core because of these constraints.
You know, I go out on Friday and Saturday night sometimes, maybe some of the rest of you. And it appears that Pearl Street is generally where the traffic has been driven. And so I'm wondering if there's any data around incidents happening around the Pearl Street Mall for underage drinking and other shenanigans that would have normally taken place on the Hill. It is streams of individuals walking down the Hill and then back up the Hill. 10:30, starting 10:30 at night and then ending somewhere around 3. And so part of me is wondering, like, what's happening there? Is it that suddenly by moving to Pearl Street, they're magically well behaved? I doubt that. And I'm wondering if there's any sort of information that we can glean from late night stuff occurring down on the Pearl Street Mall that could be helpful in this argument. We haven't solved the problem. We've just moved it from one place to another.
I don't know that data shows any increase. I'd say overall over the past decade, bad behavior downtown has decreased quite a bit. I think there's a lot of variables tied to that.
I agree. I just don't know how to frame that, other than we have some great businesses that would like to open their doors on the Hill, but won't consider it because of the restrictions. That's anecdotal.
Let's say, what we did experience during the pandemic when there was less activity on Pearl Street Mall, other types of bad behavior increased. So other types of populations that aren't necessarily going out late night take over spaces. And I think we've certainly seen that on the Hill. When you don't have other types of folks who might behave badly in some ways, you're going to have other types of folks who behave badly in other ways. And I do think that we've also experienced and responded to an increase in noise-related challenges in the neighborhood itself. And that's been an ongoing conversation with the residential group related to the reinvestment strategy. So, I think there's still a lot to learn. We have with the hotel coming and the conference center coming, there is going to be a different demographic. We want to make sure that they have opportunities. Folks who go to conferences like to go out in the evening. And so if there are not reasonable options for them on the Hill, they're also going to go downtown. And presumably they would behave better than a lot of college students, at least in our knowledge and history. But if we don't have options for them in the evening, then we're not going to be able to take advantage of that type of activation, which can help discourage other bad actors.
That's very well
All
said,
right,
Chris.
we are at 6:34. I have to exit the meeting and we are past our time. So is anyone interested in moving the September 5th meeting to the following week if there's availability? Or would you prefer to just have the September 4th meeting or September 5th meeting?
If you do want to move it to the following week, we have the Downtown Management Commission on that Tuesday, so staff would not be available at the same time on the same day of the week. But we could look at other days of the week.
Well, you know, I think we'll all be excited to hear what council thinks of the ULI findings. So I would say go ahead and keep it on the 5th if you can. If I am available to jump into the meeting, I will let you know. But I would not plan on my attendance.
Sounds fine.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything else they want to add, or shall we adjourn the meeting? I move to adjourn the meeting then.
I was really proud of the Hill when the Denton Company were in town. There was stuff happening there all day, all night. It was fantastic. I didn't see any real shenanigans other than those Chris Mafia dudes. But other than that, it was fantastic out there.
Kind of like the old days. Yeah, it was.
There were outdoor bands, like stuff. I mean, I shouldn't say this in front of staff. People breaking the rules everywhere, and no one was getting hurt, and no one was. It was fantastic.
No, I'm excited to see what happens next summer.